Welcome to Yes Also. I'm Suzi Barrett. My guest today is one of the people I've done the most improv with in my life, Joel Spence. Joel and I have been on the team Sentimental Lady at UCB for almost 20 years together, and he makes me laugh so hard on stage and off, as you'll hear in this episode. We get right into the improv stuff here with a lesson that he taught Ryan Rosenberg that Ryan says is one of the most impactful notes he's ever gotten. And in part 2, Joel talks about his favorite teaching and coaching exercises, and we tell a lot of stories, including our experience of improvising with Robin Williams. Part 2, of course, is for subscribers only, but you can become a subscriber if you're not one already. Go to yesalso.supercast.com, where you will get double the content and other perks. For those of you who live in LA, Joel will be playing at the Troubadour, can you believe it, on June 17th. He's a part of Brendan Hunt's act, Elvis Prestello, where Brendan impersonates Elvis Presley singing Elvis Costello songs. It's a mashup band. You can also see us improvise together every fourth Friday of the month at UCB with Sentimental Lady. And for those not in LA, check out the podcast he does with Will Hines. Screw it, we're just going to talk about the Beatles. Here he is, Joel Spence. Joel Spence, gentleman, scholar, genius, and sentimental lady. Welcome to the show.
Good evening.
We're laughing because it's noon.
Yes.
I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
We've been friends for years. We've been teammates for almost 20 years, which is insane.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've ever had a good deep dive about improv. Our conversations have been sprinkled throughout the course of time. So this will be the condensed compendium.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
And we also co-taught boot camp for a number of years.
That's right.
That's right. Correct.
And I owe you a bunch of gratitude for what became evening boot camp and now is night fitness with WGIs. It was, I don't know if you remember that, but you opened it up to me. But basically, I said I was looking for new ways to make money. You said, well, there's been some demand for an evening version of day boot, so you want to try that? And it's been going since then. Great.
You franchised. I started McDonald's and then you franchised it.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. That's really funny to feel gratitude for that, because it's I didn't own anything. It wasn't a property or anything that I owned and gave you.
But it did change my life, and it did
great.
Obviously this is, I'd have to kind of remember how long ago this was. It might be 2012 to 2014 zone, but that's how long that's been going on. So That's how long that's been in my life, through the ups and downs of am I going to have any students next month? I mean, that is one thing that kind of, that was different from before, which is every month there's this little looming deadline. Is it going to happen the following month?
Yeah.
And for the first 5 years, I think it never was a problem. But the pandemic caused a lot of anxiety around that.
I want to dig into. I want to start kind of there. Start with your teaching, because right before Ryan left and right before you got here, he was like, "Joel is the best teacher I've ever had."
Oh, shit.
And he said that you are so concise and have such a good way of explaining things that really sticks and makes things clear. And he said the best lesson that he ever learned from you, that he uses in everything he does, is you said more duck, less goose. And he brought it up on my episode of the pod when he interviewed me. It was a big chapter of that, but I want to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
And for our listeners in places that foreign countries, I realize may not have the game Duck Duck Goose. I don't know if they do, but
right.
Yeah. Do you want to explain
Sure.
Duck Duck Goose and then explain what you mean?
Sure. And this comes from the UCB curriculum. So I think.
Is that analogy in there?
I feel like it is, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So we mentioned that in 201 in a way to explain this concept called resting the game, which there was a period where resting the game became the like nobody liked that term. I still like that term, but and it was I think replaced with exploring the base reality. It's Orwellian. What we're talking about is when you're playing a scene. And if all you do is focus on game, you can pretty much exhaust the scene pretty quickly, and there's no life to it, and you're robbing the scene from a context that allows us to enjoy the scene more, I think is a rough way to put it. So we bring up Duck, Duck, Goose because in the game, the children's game Duck, Duck, Goose, when you play the game, it's when somebody taps goose, and that's when the sort of high stakes part of the game starts. But up until that, between those moments is duck, where you're tapping a.
So for people who don't know the game, let's say 20 kids sit on the floor in a circle, and one person is it, and they walk around the outside of the circle, and they touch the other kids' heads as they go by, and they label them either duck or goose. So they go like duck, duck. Duck, mostly duck. And then once in a while, they'll tap a kid and say goose. And when they do that, that kid jumps up and chases the person who's it around the circle. And the goal is for the person who's it to make it back to their empty spot and sit down before the kid catches them.
Right.
So they do a lot of duck so that the goose is a surprise and they can get a head start. And it's hilarious whenever the kids laugh whenever you hit goose because the duck, and then goose. It's funny. It's a surprise. But yeah, it is a great analogy for in scene work. Yes, there's nothing there. The audience doesn't have an opportunity to be surprised and laugh if it's just the thing over and over. There's no break. There's no way the surprise can come.
Right.
There's no reset. Yeah.
And like the one thing whenever I talk about Duck, Duck, Goose, and if there's ever somebody who is clearly from another country, I explain the game. We actually play it sometimes, the regular Duck, Duck, Goose.
Yeah.
But what is also notable is if there's one person from Minnesota in the class. Do you know about this?
No.
For everybody in Minnesota, it's Duck, Duck, Gray Duck.
Really?
Yeah. When I lived in Minneapolis for about 8 years, and when I think I remember hearing that there, like somebody referred to, when we played Duck, Duck, Gray Duck, I was like, what? I was appalled.
Is that just for that game, or do they like look at geese in the park and say, look at those gray ducks?
I don't know. I don't know.
Funny.
I don't know if there's like an evolution that they like where it evolved from, if it was like just them trying to assert their independence, Minnesotans, from the rest of the world, or but every time I've checked with somebody who is from Minnesota, they're like, yeah, it's Duck, Duck, Gray Duck.
Wild.
And it feels odd because it's longer to say.
Right.
Goose is such a nice tight.
Right. Gray Duck.
So consequently, the sort of improv version of that is base reality. And what I do encourage is if you stop playing the game, essentially, which I know is perverse, and it's really like, or it feels perverse in a 201 class where the name of the class is called Finding the Game. And I'm telling the students, don't do that right now. But what that does, what it affords or what allows is the two improvisers to just talk about anything they want. And the way it feels like Duck, Duck, Goose is that they find new ways to apply their game that they wouldn't had they not stopped playing the game. Like if you change the subject, like if the context is two coworkers at their cubicle, and they stop playing the game and talk about, I don't know, the company or anything they're doing this weekend, that now is a new way to kind of change the subject to apply your game to that.
Let's try an example of it.
Yeah.
Would you rather play the unusual person or the voice of reason?
On this moment at like 8 p.m., I think I'd rather be the voice of reason.
Okay.
I'm trying to convince the world here that we're doing
Yes,
this at
this
night.
is the evening. Yeah. Ryan bought an incredible lighting. a full studio rig for daylight. Yeah. He put lights outside the windows. It's insane. He's going to make it rain in a minute too. So you'll see the clouds roll. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay. So you'll be voice of reason. I'll be unusual.
Okay.
Let's just name what my unusual thing is for the sake of these examples. I want to do one example where I just play goose, and then one where we do duck, duck, goose.
Fun. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So what's my unusual thing?
Are we coworkers?
We're coworkers. Yeah.
And you're more about any sort, like you're very into having the coworkers get together
Great.
all the time. Like you want like a social life with this.
I'm at work more to make friends than I am to do the job.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes. Okay, so you were 5 minutes late.
Yeah, I was hanging up a softball sign up. Did you see it in the break room?
I did not.
I'll go grab it. You can sign up right now.
Cool.
In fact, you know what? I don't want to leave you for a second. Let's just tell me a yes or no, and I'll write your information on this.
I can't do it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when can you do it?
Marcy, I have a lot going on with my family right now.
Let's invite them.
Okay. I'm going to leave right now.
I'll follow you.
Please stop. Please stop. Please stop.
I got it. Oh, we're playing a game where we go, please stop. Please stop.
Marcy.
Yeah.
Marcy, I'm worried about
I love when you call me Marcy. Sorry, you're worried about what?
Marcy, I'm just worried that you're spending a lot of time not doing work, and we need a lot of work.
But we're friends, right?
Yeah.
We're buddies. As proven by what you just said, because you felt safe enough to say that, as friends do. And I think that deserves us getting a frappuccino together. Let's go downstairs.
Okay.
Great. You looked at your nails. Do you want to go get a manicure with me right now?
God damn it.
I say God damn it too. Okay, so that was all goose.
Yeah, I was all goose. And I start to, this is probably not very fair, but I start to wonder about your mental issue, right?
Yeah.
Which maybe that's too much of a critique, but like not as you as an improviser, but like it's just so much.
It's so much. It becomes impossible for you as a person to do anything but what you did, which is like shut down, become frustrated, angry because you're not being listened to.
Yes.
And it's hard for the audience to watch because it's like, well, this woman is like violating his boundaries.
Yeah. And there was didn't I just try to leave at some point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll follow you.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. There's no recourse. So okay.
So we'll reset. Same characters, or same conceit. My unusual thing is I want more of a social life than work, or I use work as my social life. But this time we'll try to throw duck in the middle, and then find a new way for my game to appear. Okay.
Hey, Marcy, you're 5 minutes late, and we wanted to start a little bit. Yeah,
I know. I'm so sorry. I was hanging a softball sign up in the break room.
Right.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, I'll have to get to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no rush. It's just, it's up there when you're ready. Kind of a fun way for us to kind of, get to know each other better.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. And we'll, like, maybe if it works with my schedule, I can go. So we have to kind of fix this, the visual for this report.
Yeah, I had some ideas about that.
Good.
So the note was they wanted like more straightforward. They wanted a quicker get with the information, right? Yeah.
Yes, and I'm not so great with the application that kind of works on the visual. So
Canva.
Yeah. Right.
I'm happy to sit down with you sometime and go over it and kind of show you some tools and
this presentation is at noon, so let's just stay focused on trying to kind of get the
okay. So what I find is that sort of different people process information in different ways.
Yes.
This kind of gets at, I don't know if you saw the thing I left on your desk yesterday, the Enneagram test.
Yeah.
Did you do it? Do you know what type you are?
I didn't do it, Marcy.
Oh, man. It is a good one when you get a chance. It's a good one.
I won't have a chance between now and noon when this project is due.
I totally get it. No. And that's not what I'm saying. Just when you find out, I would guess that you're a 3 with a 2-wing.
Oh, by the way, I have to tell you that after the presentation, I've got lunch plans with Chris. I know we had talked potentially about doing that.
Yeah,
but I have lunch plans with Chris.
Bummer. Oh, that's okay. We can grab it another time. You're
crying right now.
I think it's my contacts. I just got new contacts.
Marcy, I just want you're crying so hard right now.
Because they hurt. Oh, ow. Have you ever worn contacts? You're a glasses guy.
I'm a glasses guy.
God.
Marcy, are you okay to do this?
Sorry. Oh, can I be honest with you?
Okay.
You said you were going to lunch with Chris.
Yeah.
And I did have a moment where I was like, wait, why? Chris barely ever hangs out and like asks you about your day. Like, why are you taking him to lunch?
Because he and I have to work on this other project that's due on Friday.
Okay, got it. Speaking of which, let's finish this because noon is around the corner.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, so
I'll go to your baseball thing.
Softball?
Softball.
Okay. Oh, God damn it, Joel. My main complaint. No. So we kind of did that kind of rapid fire. We kind of blew through the ducks, but it illustrated it. Like maybe that was a little bit faster of a pace than we would on stage, but
but I think what that does is that it's sort of what I was saying before. Your character now is smarter, more human, actually more self-aware, more, I guess, emotionally mature, whatever, enough to kind of to make me not be so concerned with everything. Like the previous character I felt was a problem in every situation in her life.
Right.
This one,
yeah.
I think it gives that character a chance to be very specific, have a very specific issue, and not everything else. Like she can function everywhere.
And it's not an issue 100% of the time.
Right.
It's not mental illness.
Right.
It's just a quirk. It's her desires and her point of view.
Yeah.
They happen to be slightly different than yours, which is what makes for comedy, and it also makes for a relatable scene because we've all had that coworker where it's like, oh, I don't really want to be her friend, but
and this duck thing also gives improvisers a chance to work off the top of their intelligence and make, have a conversation, bring up specifics that I wouldn't bring up to rest the game or do duck. So it just makes the scene also more individual because of the various improvisers that are actually doing it.
Right, and we get to have fun discovering what we do, what this is, who's Chris, like what are all these other parts of this world.
Right.
Which if you're doing a herald, that can plant a seed for a second beat if you want to do a time dash.
Yes.
Or just it gives you more to play with specifics wise.
Yep.
Were you going to say something?
Well, just about like what you were saying about how this helps a full set is just to build on that. If you're not doing a herald, it just every specific you give is an opportunity for another scene.
Right. And possibly walk on.
Yeah.
How fun would it be when Chris comes in and he's like boring or mean to you, and he's the one you're going to lunch with, and I'm just beside myself.
Yeah, and Chris says, Peter's going to come along with us.
Right.
So it's just eventually we have this giant group without
the whole
you.
entourage leaving through the
Yeah.
That's a great walk on too. The door opens and like 5 heads poke in.
They see you. They're like, no thanks. We'll talk about this later.
Yeah, that's so fun. The point I wanted to make too was like in playing that scene when we were when you said like let's talk about this presentation we have to do. as an improviser, I'm delighted now while we're doing all that mundane business.
Yeah.
Because I'm excitedly looking at the conveyor belt, waiting for the next thing to come down that tickles and awakens the game in me.
Yeah.
I don't have to force it. I don't have to think of it. I'm just watching the conveyor belt. Is this something that I want to jump on? Is this?
Yeah.
And it arises, and then I get to be surprised. Like, yeah. So,
So I remember one workshop that Ian Roberts did. I took him every chance I could back in the day. He's one of the founders of UCB, if you don't know. Suzi, if you don't know.
Thank you. I can put Siri, cancel search.
You had to do that. Search canceled. Just so you know, you didn't have to tell me that.
Thank you. Siri, thank yourself.
He was big on organic scenes. Like he would work on that quite a bit. But I remember him he probably said this multiple times, and just one time I remembered it, but like he talks about just trusting yes-anding. Mm-hmm. And that's probably one of the hardest things to do as an improviser, even if you're not consciously aware of it, that yes-anding will bring you something. And when you're working in a class like 201 where it's game, it tends to terrify improvisers because particularly if they have the unusual thing, they don't want to unanchor themselves. And what I try to convey is exactly what you're saying. Like if you just trust that duck, that something will come along. If the game is potent, it's simple, and it's like a clear, it won't be that hard to kind of find a way to play it.
Right.
If you've got an active yes-ander with you.
Yeah. In organic, like the whole beginning of the scene is also duck while you're both waiting for an unusual thing to organically arise.
Yes.
Or for one of you to find something unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that facial expression? You just made the most like wistful.
Well, because I always remember this one Ian Roberts class for Johnny Meeks and I. He's been on this before, right?
Yes. Thanks for being an avid fan, Joel. How are you enjoying the episode?
I'm loathing explaining who Johnny Meeks is. I don't want to do that right now.
Just so you know, I'm the host of the show.
Yes.
It's called Yes Also.
Siri, cancel search on Johnny Meeks.
Siri, tell my Siri that you say hi. Oh my God, mine is lighting up. It's like cancel, stop. Yeah.
Cancel, stop.
She says to who? To yourself. Okay.
So Johnny, every time I think about Ian Roberts' class and being patient, I think this is true. I think it might have been Ian trying out Park Bench of Truth or some version of that in a class. And for listeners, Park Bench of Truth is just having two improvisers sit down next to each other. They get a word from the audience, and then they just start talking. There's no requirement of game, and there's also no requirement of character. In fact, we just want, if it's you and Suzi and Joel, we just want to have Suzi and Joel just start talking honestly.
Yeah, share your actual opinions
about stuff.
It's to get at just playing from a truthful place, not worrying about making something happen or creating a scene, and showing the audience how compelling it is to just watch two human beings use what they know and talk about their own points of view about the world. And
yeah, and very importantly to this case, don't feel like you have to make the audience laugh.
Right.
So Johnny and I were up there. Failed. Just on that alone.
Because you're too funny, Joe.
We're just so hardwired to do bits with each other.
Yeah.
Which is not uncommon, I think, for improvisers who've known each other for a long period of time. It's very potent to just put us two up there to just talk about something. And I think we started multiple times over and over again to try to see if we can do this without. And then he put us behind, this is at Franklin, he put us behind the wall.
Oh, wow.
To see if we visually, without the audience there, like for Johnny and I, if the wall would prevent us from trying to be funny to the rest of the students.
It's an audience condom.
Yes. Reader, we failed at that too.
Oh my God. Reader, we failed.
We failed.
So his plan didn't work. You still, now maybe you're projecting even further because you're like, this wall's in the way. And
exactly. We have to be louder.
Yeah, we got to make our shtick reach through this wooden wall to our laughs.
So, I mean, that's a story about Johnny and I, who were on a Herald team probably at that point, were like we just were failing at this task of just trusting. It's because I'm just acknowledging that it's hard.
Yeah.
If you're on stage to try to just say, I'm not going to be funny for this moment.
Yeah.
I'm just going to rest the game, whatever, explore the base reality, talk about stuff that isn't with the purpose of I have to get a laugh at this point. And I always think it's just healthy for the scene.
Yeah, totally. Do you find that is a challenge for you in general on stage to not like grab for the brass ring of a laugh whenever you see it?
Yes, definitely lots of times. I think because I'm improvising less now than I was pre-pandemic, like when we had our weekly show, I feel like that was enough to allow me to feel patient. I think with our monthly show, the whole equation is off for me.
You're thirstier.
Yeah, I'm thirstier, but I think what happens is I'm also more frozen on stage, and so it's just a weird experience for I don't know if the viewer could tell any difference, but I can feel the difference. I don't feel in a groove, but if I start to do more than one show in a week, I start to kind of relax a little bit more.
That's so interesting. Yeah. I notice that as well. Like if I go a stretch of a few weeks without a show, there does seem to be more urgency about the show, or more excitement or something.
It becomes more precious. And, and therefore I'm staring at everybody, but I'm not listening, you know, in the scenes.
I've had to wake you into consciousness a few times.
I literally don't know if it reads to the audience or not, but I don't feel as satisfied. I haven't been feeling as satisfied. I'm not this is not a complaint or something we have to do about it, but I haven't felt as satisfied after our shows in the last.
I've noticed like some of your some of the ticklishness in your aura seems to be gone in certain shows, but we all have that too, because also we all have life stuff. But there have been times where I'm like, oh man, I wish I could hang out with Joel to see if like something's going on in his life. He might like need support or something. But it's not that noticeable. It's because my empathy is always in overdrive. Something I'm working on in therapy.
And we also have a half hour now, or less. So it makes it all just so new and surprising. So yeah, it's caused it to not be as satisfying recently. I don't feel hopeless about it. It's just part of life.
Well, I feel hopeless about it. Oh, okay. I don't know what to do about you. No. And I hope you don't put weight into the words. It really is just like, because I know you so well, it's like, like a couple times I've been like, he's not as glimmery or something. But we all have that.
Yeah.
Let's circle back. Let's circle all the way back. And then I want to cover more of like the stuff you teach and the stuff you can impart to students who are listening. But like, let's circle all the way back to your start. I'm guessing you were a funny kid.
Through lots of trial and error, yes.
Okay.
As my brother can attest.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I'll let you tell the story.
I met your brother one time, who's very dry and very serious, but funny. He's he's witty as you are. He's just not, he doesn't have the silly bones that you have. And we were at Birds after a show, and I went, was Joel always funny? And he stared at me for like a long 5 or 6 seconds and went, no. Like, great talk.
Thank you, Vader.
Thank you.
So I think I went to a private school that had like 25 to 30 students
in
every grade from 1st to 5th.
Wow.
I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but I think there was a little bit of an agenda about making everybody laugh. I don't think I was successful all the time, for sure, but I do remember getting that rush of I just did that, and it did cause people to laugh. And it solidified in 6th grade when I moved into public school, and the first class we had was a speech and drama class. That's what they called the class that covered that arena. Did you have in middle school, like a theater? Or
we didn't have a theater. We had a cafeteria that we would do things in. But
did they have a class that was devoted to?
Yeah, we had in 7th grade. We had like a theater or drama class or something.
Do you remember what it was called?
I think it was called drama, drama 1 and drama 2. I think, or theater 1, theater maybe acting 1, acting 2. It was like a 2-segment. You could do it as an elective, and then you could choose to do the part 2. And I was like, sign me up.
Yeah.
But it used a curriculum that we had with like 3 hole punch sheets that we put into a 3-ring binder, and it was all these like outlines of like figures, like almost like mannequin figures that were faceless, that were like enacting like different physical positions. Yep. Did you have this?
I don't recall that.
Okay. And I remember one of the exercises that we had to do for homework was observe someone in your household for 30 minutes and like take notes on their gestures, their facial tics, the their posture. And then you had to come in and do like a 30-second silent demonstration of this, like an impression of this person.
Gotcha, yeah.
And I remember I arrived at class and she was like, okay, so we're doing our presentations. And I had forgotten to do the assignment. And I was horrified because I, wanted to be an actor. Young. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to wing it. And I remember like imagining what my mom looks like in the evening doing the crossword and like sipping her wine or whatever. Like I remember like conjuring the image in my head and doing it.
Crashing it. Yeah. And crash studying kind
right.
of thing.
Yeah. And the teacher was like, that was great. And I was like, oh my God, yes. I am an actor. I did that without even observing. And it's like, of course she said that was great. She doesn't know what your fucking mom looks like. There's no watermark for the impression.
I nailed my impression of my mother. Yeah.
She said that was the best my mom she's ever seen. She called Lauren Michaels and said, we got a Sharon impression cooking over here. Yeah.
That's so funny. That's really funny because I mean, I now that I'm talking about it, that must there was trauma involved with this first class because I'm in a public school now. This is so many more people than I'm used to. First class. Now I had one benefit. What I was grateful for is I knew my brother was in 8th grade.
Oh, no, okay.
In 8th grade, somewhere else on the campus.
Right,
I didn't feel completely alone, but. The first class ever was a speech and drama class, and I'm wondering now, was that just did I give that a huge hug?
Right.
Because I don't know, the fun that I had in the class and compared to how terrified I was.
Was that the ping pong ball that your goose imprinted on? Do you know that psychology
thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reason why I said that's funny, that story is really interesting is because
it was interesting.
Well,
so that's why you said that, right?
Yeah. Is that the end of that class, after 6 weeks, it was going to move on to a new elective, and I can't remember what that elective was, but the last thing we did as a class was we divided the class into 3 groups, and we were all going to do like each group was going to do a show. One of them was going to do a game show. Mm-hmm. One of them was going to do a newscast.
Great.
I can't remember the third one.
A porno.
A 6th grade porn. I think it was, I can't remember if it was, you could pick which one you wanted. I would imagine the teacher had to kind of like do some organization, but I probably felt news was going to be my favorite. I did the news, and she taped us like on a video camera.
Oh, intoxicating.
So I was one of the anchors.
Congrats.
We wrote, thank you. We wrote our little reports, and it was all for laughs. That's all good. Like we were just trying to be like a kind of a stupid, silly newscast.
So you got to make up the news stories. Yeah. Okay.
And my co-anchor, I can't remember her name, but she was very nice and super cool, and we got along really well. And I did the first story, and then handed it off to her to do the next story, the news report. And during her news report, I decided to wrestle my tie. And we watched that playback, and everybody loved what I did. And I was intoxicated with that. And then it took us some years for me to realize I just stole focus. Yeah. I just ruined. I don't know. I think I remember she was laughing along with it. Like it was so fine for her.
Right.
However, looking back, I'm like, dude.
Yeah, I
just stole.
She's spent a lot of therapy dollars on this. She's released from prison, but the ways that she's enacted her chip on her shoulder were not healthy in her. Yeah, that's so funny. Wrestle your tie.
Yeah, I had a tie, and I was like, oh, like while she was doing it, I was like, oh, this is kind of attacking me right now, and.
That's just so much more egregious than what I pictured. I pictured like you were trying to like tighten the knot, and then kind of like
just very subtle.
Organically you were having trouble, and then the trouble heightened, and then turned into wrestling. But you went for this tie is attacking me, and it's a monster. Yeah, that's great.
It's funny to think that that's when I fell in love with drama. I just ruined somebody's project.
My first steamrolling.
Yeah. But that was
so
the moment. It was like, I didn't realize that I could do something like that. Then I could watch it too. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have the stress. And it was just such a delight. I don't know. I loved it. And and then I was so excited about my new journey and my new pathway in life that I didn't do anything about it for 6 years.
Wow.
So it wasn't until junior in high school that I finally talked to a good friend of mine who was in the theater program and said, kind of want to do that. And he's like, well, do it.
Right. The most doable thing. Yeah. Everyone gets a part. Yeah. What was the first show then in high school?
Miracle Worker.
Oh, great. And you were Helen Keller? Only because during the girls' audition, who was like up for the lead, you like sidled onto the stage and did a bunch of bits and slipped on a banana peel in front of her.
Yeah, I guess it is another dubious start because I guess we did the full play. It wasn't a one act. So the first scene in our version is Helen Keller is an infant at the time, and it's a scene between the parents and me, who's a doctor, and Helen has been ill, and the lights come up. I think I have the first line in the play, and I'm shaking out a thermometer, and I go, she'll live, like as like a joke, like she's fine. She'll live. And I kind of say something like, just do this and this, and she's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. For me, for the character, it felt like she was just like a cold or something like that. And then I leave, and then the scene after this, or it continues, and that's when they discover she can't see and she can't hear. This doctor sucked. He completely blew that.
Perfect part for you.
Perfect part.
You do play those characters so well. Just like confident dumbasses.
Everything is just fine.
Yeah, she'll live.
On to the next one.
If I were to bet $1 million on it, it's like a very Will Ferrell quality. You're so good at those like buffoons. Trust me, she'll live.
Don't worry about a thing.
Pass me my golf club.
No one will write a play about your daughter.
And you can call me the miracle worker.
The miracle worker. Curtain. But I have to say, like that came from me signing up for whatever the theater class was in junior year after my friend said, you got to do it, if you want to do it. So I signed up for it, started taking it. And the first presentation I did, like, I can't remember what it was. It was like a collage of your life, and you had to kind of give a speech about it. And the theater director, Richard Hoeg, just because of my voice, He was like, I want you to audition for this play right now.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't think he cared if I was good or not. For some reason, he liked that I could project.
Oh, it was a projection thing.
And the quality of it. He said, you have such a beautiful voice.
You do have a beautiful timbre. Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
So auditioned, got that part, did it, just misdiagnosed Helen Keller for ages.
Your voice is so stunningly beautiful. I'm not even going to hold auditions. Right away, I'm going to cast you. You have 2 words, she'll live. That voice.
You are the most important part of this play.
Say it for me in that voice.
She'll live.
Oh, God. You know what? I'm going to have you say the line 3 times in a row, just so the audience, because it is only 2 words.
Yeah.
She'll
and
live.
Pop back in right after you leave. She's still gonna live.
She's still going to live.
I was right.
Yeah.
She did live.
She did live.
But I was doing sports like in that interim of speech and drama to that class. I was playing soccer team, and we did that play, and I think it was 2 weekends or 3 weekends. Maybe it was 4. I don't know. But because we double cast the leads, so they had to make sure that they had their fair shot. And we struck the set at the end, and we all participated. And after we were done, I didn't even know what this feeling was until I felt it, but it was done. The play was done.
Abject depression, is that the feeling?
Loss.
Yeah.
Because
grief.
This community that I had no idea how much I was liking it until that moment.
Yeah.
And part of it, and I had done things before, like being on a sports team is like you have like this camaraderie and this chemistry and you feel like you do something together and all that. Maybe it was because it was not just one gender, that it felt much more universal. It felt much more engaging because we just had like a bunch of different people in this cast, and that I didn't know it until we were wrapped and it was done, and everybody else who had been doing plays was used to that kind of feeling yet. But
the post-show blues.
Yeah.
And still happens on like TV jobs, and anytime a project ends.
Yeah.
And that is one thing. This ties heavily into improv. I think improv is such a good antidote to that poison because it is the project that never ends.
Yeah.
So throughout the acting career of ups, downs, shows getting canceled, all of that stuff, that can be a dotted line, but improv is the balm that is the solid line under all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a
and
lot
you
of
can
sense.
always go do a show, and you always have your improv community. You can pop by a green room somewhere and see everybody. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So I think that sort of set it.
That set it in the cement. Yeah. You went to school for theater then, right? For college?
For acting, yeah.
Where was that?
SMU, which is in Dallas, Texas.
Southern Methodist U. And what was your experience there? Were you immediately the clown? Did you fancy yourself a more serious actor?
I thought it was because I wasn't doing like primarily comedy and the high school stuff. I think, it was mostly, I didn't view myself as a comic actor necessarily. Right. And I'd never really, it wasn't until maybe up in Minneapolis working with Shun-Lun that I felt, oh wait, no, I can do this kind of stuff. And also I can do this stuff poorly too. Which it was just a hard go, but it wasn't, comedy wasn't my focus. Primarily,
acting was the focus. Yeah. Okay. Introduce me to when did improv first make its first walk on?
Okay. I hated that. So there's a couple of moments with that. One is the work we did at Shun-Lun, and when I lived in Minneapolis, I was a part of this theater company called Theater de la Shun-Lun, which is like a French-American theater company.
Does that mean Yellow Moon?
It's probably because I'm mispronouncing it, but it's Young Moon, Jeune.
Oh, okay.
Jeune.
The southern pronunciation.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. My French is real rusty.
So when we would develop work, we would sometimes have to just make up shit and improvise and find how a scene works. And that was, that is also attached to all the improv work I did in various classes in college, but the improv work we did wasn't long-form improv, in quotes. It was more freeing yourself and making choices and all that. The comedy was not the kind of the agenda as... It was fine if it was comedic, but it wasn't like, this is what we're doing.
So the improv you were doing was like improvising a scene, but not with, but not like learning. Is that right? You weren't like learning improv. It was like improvise as these characters and see what you discover.
That in at Jeune Lune, it was, let's see if we can elevate the text by doing something. Having a physical relationship between the two characters, we use the term game, but it was about playing two actors playing with each other
in a physical way,
just as
underneath what the lines were. So parallel to the scripted track, you're doing a separate like exploration physically.
Yeah.
And for you, just to clarify, for you, Joel, the two characters were you and your tie. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Wrestle.
And like a table so I could read my news, something. So I was used to, and also like the spirit with which we created stuff was like, comedy was very, very important to the work that we did, even if it was a tragedy. Like finding the joy and the fun in playing some of these brutal moments to bring them to life in a way. So that I was used to that, but it was still not game long form improv the way we know it.
Yeah.
So by the time I came to LA and I started at the Groundlings, started taking classes at the Groundlings, I felt like it was not like I had experience in Chicago doing Second City and improv and all that. I felt I just had so much experience as a performer that I was able to think or make choices on my feet more so than people that hadn't done anything up until that point. So, but it wasn't like the second thing that happened that was very important to my improv life was seeing the first long-form improv show I ever saw that was like high quality. I don't recall seeing long-form improv before this. It was just... I might have, and it was the Groundlings, Crazy Uncle... The
Crazy Uncle Joe show. Yeah. Do you remember what about that made you enamored?
Yes, as a matter of fact. And I didn't know this until years later when I started at UCB. What I was sort of seduced by was them playing at the top of their intelligence. It was... they were just as funny on stage and just... in themselves, I think they were very much themselves on stage. And I know the Groundlings has
gonna say that, that sounds the opposite of Groundlings to me.
Because they were playing characters, but I could tell that they were making the choices. They were calling things out, and I'm not sure if I was used to that in such a great way. And their improv, if you've seen, have you seen?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
They can play. I mean, it's
some of the strongest improvisers ever.
And grounded.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it depends what show you're seeing there and what the mission of the show is.
Yes. But I think what I was, even with all the great character work that they were doing, it was the top of their intelligence stuff that I was really loving. I didn't know how to explain it until I got to UCB, and so. That was very profound. I was so like, I don't know if I finished the thought, but it was like I could tell that they were being themselves. They were just as funny off stage when they were hanging out as they were on stage doing it didn't feel pushed.
Right.
It was so, because they were just so good at what they do.
It's like the feeling that you get when you watch Letterman or Conan, where it's like, oh, you're so facile in each moment, and you are genuinely funny bringing yourself to the table in these unplanned things. I'd much rather watch that than like Jay Leno just like firing a bunch of monologue jokes at me. I think that's personally, that's like a taste difference. Yeah. So what was your experience like in Groundlings classes, and did you like, what were your main takeaways?
I loved it. I loved all my teachers. We had I think they've changed their pathway on the order of classes since I was there.
Now it starts at advanced and reverses all the way back to intro for beginners.
So I took 3 classes. I took their, whatever the first level was, and then intermediate, which is like a character workshop, and then the third was the writer's lab. And love them all, but particularly the writer's lab. That was it's probably the best class I've ever taken.
Oh, great.
Because it was, if you don't know, it's like at that time for Groundlings, it was a cast of 15, 16, I don't know, and we were working on a show that we were eventually going to do, and that show comprised of everybody had to write their own character monologue, everybody had to work together and write sketches with each other, and then you're performing your own work. And I did really well, to be honest. It was like I was good. And so I was, at the end of the show was so fun, and I felt really good about what I did. And they gave me a call and said, okay, we've approved you for the next level, which at that time was advanced. That was the next level. And so I said, great. But at that time, it was on average a 1.5 wait list for the next class. And I was like, oh, this is just the way the Groundlings is. I don't think I had enough in me to experiment with what IO was, but maybe I would have. Second City was there, so I also felt like maybe in the interim I might have just tried that. But UCB arrived in that gap, and I started taking classes there. And then eventually Groundlings did call me and said, we've got a spot.
And you didn't go back to it?
I didn't go back because that was like right when Sentimental Lady had begun. And I started teaching at UCB. And I still think about starting all over again at the Groundlings because it's so fun.
Man, you should. I never knew that you, or maybe I did at one point and forgot it, but it doesn't surprise me that you were good at it. You're such a strong writer, and so good at playing character point of view. And so good at specifics too, which are what make sketches really funny, in my opinion. Was the feeling that there just wasn't enough space in your life now because you had this stuff kind of filling your calendar at UCB, or was it like, now I'm kind of in this genre of play and I'm now UCB is my lover?
Yeah, it's just as much that or more of that latter part. Like I felt like, okay, I'm here. I had nothing against the Groundlings at all. I still don't. It's wonderful. I do like sometimes I get students who are doing both at the same time, and it can be a struggle for them.
Describe that. So, what's the tug of war?
The tug of war is they want to do, and I've talked about Roy Jenkins was my intermediate character workshop teacher, and a really good guy, and I run into him occasionally at commercial auditions. And one time we talked about what it's like to get students from the other program, like when he gets UCB students or when I get Groundling students. And my notes tend to be, wow, that character came out of nowhere. You weren't listening. And for the listeners, I keep in mind, what we're talking about, I think we're talking about is students that are just learning the Groundlings approach. So they're not like experts at it.
Right.
At the top level of both styles, there's a ton of overlap with this kind of stuff. So,
well, yeah, and when and in defense of these poor students too, maybe like if they started at Groundlings, all they've been taught is like the approach of you're going to be an unusual character, you're going to come in hot, give yourself something real strong, and play it hard and right away.
It's a great approach.
Yeah.
It's just jarring when we want to know the relationship and location. I want you to listen to the other improviser and build this, and I want to believe it. I want to believe that these characters exist. So, I mean, I'm not harsh on them. It's just like, okay, like, and so one solution I found was, if they are struggling, if they do say, I'm really kind of torn right now, and I just tell them, all right, for this class, just play yourself every time. That's the only requirement. And it tends to kind of help them like focus whenever they go from one to the other. So, but Roy Jenkins, when he gets a UCB student, which is also very fair, he's like, you're just standing there.
Yeah. Right.
To a character. What's happening here?
Right.
This is boring as hell.
Right. This isn't the written word.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And you're just being a wise ass probably on stage too, just calling shit out and
quit commenting on what's happening.
Yeah.
Those are both the shadow sides of each, as people learn to find their legs with each sort of teaching method. Yeah.
The game can be very hard. It is very hard.
Yeah.
It's like you're flipping your brain to kind of focus on a completely different thing. Well, it's probably not that different, but when you're a young student, you want to hug those rules so hard. And that might mean that you're not open to other possibilities when you're young. That's sort of the point. You have to kind of focus on form when you're like exercising. Like you want to make sure the form is right so you don't injure yourself. So I get that kind of tendency. But if you're walking on stage to do a note, it's not going to be that good.
Totally. Well, and I with tons of empathy for the student experience, looking at the curriculum of any program, you get whiplash. It's like 1 week they're doing these 3 very specific exercises. The next week, a completely different 4 exercises. Yeah. And in each exercise, they're trying to accomplish the goal of that exercise. And then the teacher shakes the Etch-a-Sketch and goes, great, that's over. Yeah. Now I want you to work on this.
Right. And they're like, well, I was trying to do that last week thing right now.
Right, yeah, right. Yeah. And just getting the hang of what you just told me, but now you're saying do a different thing. Because it's so much information to expose everyone to. Yeah.
I hope I'm not coming off as like students are ridiculous. But
not at all.
It's just,
not at all.
It is like, I get this. And sometimes when I try to correct, it can be a shock. Like
right.
When they're like, with what you're saying, like I'm trying to dot this I right now, and I'm saying, well, we're kind of working on crossing T's right now. And so you're not wrong, but
yeah. And in defense of the students, when you try to correct, quote unquote, you have that big bamboo stick and you get it out and whack them in the back of the knees. You make them tell an embarrassing secret.
Yeah, and in defense of me, I say try. I'm not there to succeed in correcting you. Right. I'm humble that way.
Yes.
I'm trying to
correct.
Hurt you.
What are some favorite exercises that you have as a teacher or a coach?
For part 2 of this episode, go to yesalso.supercast.com. If you like this podcast and you want double the content, head over to yesalso.supercast.com and subscribe. You can also help us out for free by subscribing to us on YouTube and talking us up to your improv communities. If you have a question that you'd like us to answer in one of our Q&A episodes, or a topic that you think would make a great bonus episode, put it in a 5-star review. If you're a theater who would like to host us for a live recording and improv show, let us know at yesalsopod@gmail.com. A very special thanks to our producer, Ryan Rosenberg, audio and video editor, Brian Kessler, and social media czar, Britt, Faye. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week. No, we won't, Suzi. That's not how podcasts work. They won't even see us. They will listen to us, so it's actually the opposite of both things you said. Thanks for listening, and you will listen to us next week. Maybe. We don't know.